Okay, so let's go ahead and get this show on the road. What we have, I'm going to go over a little bit of the insights that I do. Um, as I mentioned when we first went on, I use a lot of sabermetric data from my scouting days with the Atlanta Braves to determine where I rank specific players. So if you look at ESPN or Yahoo or whoever you use, I know those are two big ones. I'm in leagues in both. I'm also in a Fan Tracks league, which I enjoy. But if you use those rankings, they'll differ a little bit from mine, just because I tend to rebuild players in the aggregate. If you've seen the movie Moneyball, that's kind of how I do it. I'm actually going to give you all a look at my spreadsheet. Hey, how's it going, Ghostface? Thanks for joining us. Here's a look at the spreadsheet, just so you have an idea, kind of a little bit of the method to my madness. So as you can see, I have specific players listed, and I have statistics that I want to track only from specific games. Sorry for it shaking. I kind of had to move the camera. And then I have corresponding numbers over here that'll matter to me. So I have second base, first base built, and I only have second and first on this spreadsheet. But basically what I've done is I've built a set of rankings that I use to determine a player's value. So then I can get the players a couple rounds later. Usually I might value a guy as like a sixth round talent, and average draft positions that the big sites put out have him as a 12th round. Well, I might be able to get him in the 8th or ninth. People think I'm crazy, but then he goes on to have an all-star season. So, sorry about the coughs and stuff. Still getting over a little bit of a head cold. So I'm going to start with catchers. I'm not going to cover the big, huge names. You all know to draft Gary Sanchez, JT Realmuto. If you have specific questions as to where to draft them, we can go over that. But one catcher that I am targeting that you can get pretty late. So if you're in a standard 10-team league, he's going in about the 16th round, which is pretty crazy for a catcher. Wilson Ramos. So this is the first guy we're going to spotlight. Wilson Ramos, I feel like, has been underrated his entire career, and I have no clue why. He had an all-star season in 2016 with the Nationals when he was underrated there, hit 22 homers and batted .307. You'll take that from a catcher any day of the week. I'll take a .300 season from a catcher, even if he doesn't hit for power, just because there are so few hitting catchers. And then 2018, he was an all-star as well. Now 2018 gets a little skewed because his numbers were good in Tampa. Hit 297, 14 bombs before the all-star break. And then he got traded to Philly. So, again, because he was traded mid-season, signed with a new team, he's with the Mets now. There's just this little bit of not 100% sure what you're getting out of Wilson Ramos. I like him, though, because he provides in multiple categories. He can hit for power. He's going to drive in runs, especially in that Mets lineup. You know, he drove in 53 in Tampa in half a season. And Tampa does not score runs. So what he can do in a Mets lineup, he could get over 80 RBI, which would be really solid for a catcher. He's going to bat near 300 because he's done it his whole career. So definitely target Wilson Ramos. You'll be able to get him after the group has already taken Sanchez, Realmuto, Posey, Grandal, Molina, and then you'll be able to get him and use those early round picks to target some stud outfielders, stud infielders who are going to provide 5 categories for you. So next up, thinking of catchers that are on new teams, Yan Gomes. This is another one to target. Gomes specifically is going to have a huge benefit from being in the Nationals lineup this year compared to Cleveland. What's going to help him too is people are going to look at his batting average and shy away. Yes, he batted 266 last year. He struck out a quarter of the time, walked 21 times. I think he was pressing a little bit when you look deeper into the numbers. He was an all-star, but because of the start he got off to, he really needed to rebound and just press more than he needed to. He could revert back to 2017 Gomes, batting 232, but he's still going to hit you about 15 homers. I expect him to get in the 250 range with about 15 bombs next year in DC, potentially 60 to 70 RBI. Not stud numbers, but in average, he's going in the 21st round. If you can get him after the 20th round, he's a serviceable starter, but he'd be a really good backup. If you're going to carry two catchers, or if you're in a two-catcher league, definitely target him late. Somebody who's known for the bat, and that's about it. Because there wasn't room in Cleveland, Francisco Mejia. Mejia, sorry about that. Mejia, I think, is going to have a good year if San Diego trusts him behind the plate. Don't let the inconsistency kind of get in your head. He's having inconsistency at the major league level because teams aren't fully committing to him because of his defense. Well, in fantasy, we don't care about his defense. We care how he hits the ball. And this guy hits for power. He hit 3 homers in 20 games last year for San Diego. If you average that out over a whole season, he's going to be borderline 20 homer power. At the peak of his career, probably 25 homers. He's only 22 years old. If you can get 20 homers from a catcher right now, his batting average is going to rebound. Now, he's not going to be a 300 hitter. Oops. Sorry about that. I lost the camera off the tripod. Shocked me a little bit. Was not expecting that. Let me just angle it a little bit. See if that'll do it. Okay. So now that we're back, Mejia is never going to hit for 300. I see him maxing out about 240, 250, maybe 260, but he could hit 25 home runs. Again, catcher position, not insanely deep. Definitely somebody you can go after and add late, just because of where he's being drafted. Most leagues, depending on how many teams you carry, he's not being drafted. He's rated as the 15th best catcher in fantasy, and a lot of players are being picked over him. So he's averaging about the 26th round in most leagues. I also really like Williams Astudillo. I didn't have a card for him, but Astudillo will hit for average. So if you can get power somewhere else, Astudillo's going to hit 300 next year. It's just going to happen. He hit over 330 last year. So it's just, he's like a freak of nature. I don't know how a guy his size runs the way he does. He's not going to steal bases, but he's going to get on base. So that brings us to first base. A lot of good first base options out there. You may target a Goldschmidt early, potentially go for, a Votto, someone like that. Goldschmidt I really like, especially in St. Louis, but we're talking sleepers. Goldschmidt is not a sleeper. He's actually averaging as a second round pick. So some guys I do like, the 8th ranked first baseman in my numbers, Jose Abreu. Ooh, that was challenging to say. So Jose Abreu, he has been insanely consistent in his career. See, there we go. I'm not going to pull a card up to the camera again. It just really messes with the focus. So Jose Abreu, There's no more consistency than this. He's been in the majors. Oh, let's see. I'm just gonna unplug my charger. It probably doesn't need it at this point. Okay. Let's see. I appreciate you bearing with me. Whoever's out there watching. Okay. Let's try this again. Abreu, this will be his 6th year in the big leagues. The previous 5 seasons, he's hit over 100 RBI in 4 of those 5 years. He's hit over 30 homers 3 times. He's hit at least 22 in every season. He's batted around 300. Why he is going as the 8th first baseman off the board, I have no idea. He's a 7th round pick on average. I say target him all day. If you can get him in the 7th round, do it. Don't let the big names of Freeman, Goldschmidt, Rizzo suck you in. If you can get Abreu as a first baseman, do it. Now, I'm not saying take him over a Cody Bellinger because Bellinger can run, even though I've heard from the Dodgers they don't run a whole lot. Chris Taylor told me that specifically. They don't run much, so I don't expect Bellinger to get more than 15 stolen bases. But he can play outfield as well. And you really need to look at position eligibility when you're drafting. Somebody else I like, speaking of position eligibility, Jose Martinez. Again, Martinez is similar to Mejia in the fact that he can hit, doesn't have a huge defensive game. So they're always trying to figure out where to put him. Now, he's not going to play first base because of Goldschmidt. They're going to stick him in right field, but he's going to have that position eligibility. You can use him at first. You can use him in the outfield. He's going to hit for average. If he plays a full season, he might hit you 20 home runs. In that lineup, he should drive in at least 80, and I'd go ahead and say he's going to bat at least 315. Just based on how he hits. I actually, when I was working with the Braves, worked specifically with Jose Martinez in 2014 when he was in the minor league system with them. On average, he's a 16th round pick. He's being drafted behind Yuli Gurriel on average. Gurriel is going to bat about 280. He's going to score some runs. That's really all he's going to do. Jose Martinez is a better hitter. Factor that in. Fantasy baseball is about the hitters. Speaking of hitters, I don't have a card for him, but someone you're going to want to target late. You might even be able to get him in the last round, or monitor what Syracuse is doing in the International League in April. Peter Alonso. I don't know if he's going to start in the big leagues. If you are in a dynasty league and he is unowned, get him now. Make sure you target him as your first round pick in a dynasty league this year. Only in a dynasty league. I have him on my team. He's going to be a keeper on that team. Just keep an eye out for him. He has 30 home run power. He does. It's going to happen if he's in the big leagues. His peak, it's hard to tell what his peak could be because he could very easily be a 270 hitter with 40 home runs in the big leagues, which is like an Anthony Rizzo style number. The absolute floor for him is going to be Joey Gallo. He's going to hit you 160, 210, somewhere in that range. He's going to flirt with the Mendoza line, but he's going to hit 35 homers. So he'd kill you in batting average if that's the case. So just make sure you pair him with somebody who hits for high average. We'll move on to second base. And we're just doing position players. One guy I really like, Jonathan VR. VR in Baltimore, he's not going to score a ton of runs. They don't have a good offense around him. Not going to drive in a whole lot. He's going to hit for a decent average. He's going to steal bases. VR ran a decent amount in Milwaukee, but he ran even more once he got to Baltimore. So he stole 14 bases in 87 games in Milwaukee. But why people are falling in love with him, He stole 21 bases in 54 games for Baltimore. Average that out over a whole season, that is 63 bases. Now, he stole 62 back in 2016, so it is possible. This is his age 28 season, which, based on all my sabermetric analysis, is when a player typically is going to peak. So, this is a good year to get him. The only thing that concerns me is his ADP keeps rising. So, keep an eye on his ADP when your draft starts because a lot of people rely on that to draft. Right now, his average ADP amongst all the leagues is 102, which puts him in the 10th round range. It's not bad, but depending on what else is out there, I may consider another option. But if you can get him in the 11th or even the 12th round, I would definitely jump at that. Do not beat his ADP here. Another guy I like, Jonathan Scope, and I'll tell you why. I think last year was a bit of an anomaly. I think he felt a lot of pressure, and then he got traded and was playing shortstop for Milwaukee. And learning a new position on defense is really going to mess with your hitting because you're more focused on your defense. So I love when teams jump or when players jump to new teams. I specifically like when they're in these kind of pillow contracts or players who are in their last year of a contract. Scope's in the pillow contract mode. He's with Minnesota. He's back in the American League facing pitchers he's familiar with. That was another thing that cost him in Baltimore, well, in Milwaukee, because he was starting to turn it on in Baltimore right before he got traded, had his average up to 244. He was going to rebound a bit. He wasn't going to get to the 293, but he was probably going to be in the 260 range. But he ended up hitting just 202 in Milwaukee. So his ADP is basically tanking. So he's averaging a 15th round pick right now, the 15th ranked second baseman. He's getting drafted behind Yoan Moncada. Now, Moncada's average is never going to be good because he strikes out way too much. So if you can get Scope, who's a better hitter than Moncada, after someone's drafted Moncada, I'd take that every day. A couple other guys. Marwin Gonzalez. I usually shy away from players who don't have teams because I don't know what the park impact's going to have on them, and it's not something that I can put into my data to track those points based on the stadiums he's hitting in. But I do love his position eligibility. Most leagues he's going to be eligible in the outfield, shortstop, second base, and first base. So you can really use him wherever. He hits well. He's going to hit at least 15 home runs. He's going to bat at least 250. Not great numbers, but the position eligibility alone make him a pretty solid target. He's going in the 21st round on average. If I can get him after the 20th round, I take him all day, specifically so I can rotate him into lineups if I see that some players are getting days off. That way, you're not stuck with empty slots. Cesar Hernandez, another guy I like, won't spend too much time on him. He's going around 3 picks after Scope, but I love his speed. He's going to steal bases. That lineup's gotten a lot better with McCutchen and Gene Segura added to it. They still might add a Harper. I hope they don't as a Nationals fan, just because I'd hate to see him up there. But Hernandez, I'm expecting a bigger year from as well. Similar to Peter Alonso, the Dynasty League guy to target if you're in a Dynasty League, Luis Urias. Urias is going to hit for average, something to keep an eye on if you're a Dynasty. I haven't seen anybody else Pick up this reference point. I noticed it early in his career when he was in Double A. So I've had him on my Dynasty League team for 2 years. His parallels strangely resemble Jose Altuve through the minors. He's a high average guy. He's led leagues in batting multiple years at just 19, 20 years of age. He's 21. I think within a few years, you will see him being the Jose Altuve of the National League. So if you can get him in a Dynasty League, do it now. If you need batting average at the end of your draft, draft him this year in the season long. I wouldn't take him any sooner than, like, if you can get him in the last round and he's still out there, definitely do it. Late 20s for sure. In season long, if it's Dynasty, target him now. Because, like in my Dynasty League, he's not going to be available in the draft because I'm planning to keep him. So, third base is going to be short. I've just got a couple guys. One being Matt Chapman. Chapman, I love. He's going on an average in the 9th round. He's getting drafted behind Matt Carpenter and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I have no idea why. And I will tell you, Matt Chapman, I love the way he hits. And that's what you're paying for in fantasy baseball. He hits it well. His 25-year-old last season in Oakland hit 274 or 278 with 24 home runs. This guy has some mad power. It's only going to keep developing. He'll be 26 this year. Don't buy into the hype of Vladimir Guerrero Jr. He's going to be good. Problem is, when is he going to come up? Why would you spend a top 10 pick on a guy who isn't going to give you a whole season? He may come up in May. You've missed him all of April when somebody's 6th round pick will be playing for them. So don't buy into that. Drafting the prospects high. If you can get some late, like I mentioned with Alonso, Urias, you're going to be fine. Stick with some of these known commodities. Jake Lamb's another one. I really like Jake Lamb. He's not a sexy pick by any means, but he's another guy who hits. Arizona's a good place to hit the ball, and hit the ball he can do. So Jake Lamb, another guy I'd target. One thing about Lamb, he's going on average in the 24th round. Guy I would take all day long in the 24th. If you can get him there, definitely do it. So we'll move on to shortstops, and then we'll wrap up with the outfielders. Gene Segura. Moving to Seattle, or not to Seattle. I was looking at the card. Moving to Philadelphia, I think he's going to have a great time at the top of that lineup. Batting behind or in front of Hoskins, Hoskins, Franco, McCutchen. He's going to score runs. He's going to steal bases. They're going to just let him run loose. I see his numbers being very similar to what he did in Arizona when he hit 20 home runs and stole 33 bases. So definitely target Gene Segura. Another guy, if you need some speed, and everybody needs speed, it's not very common. You don't want to take Trey Turner in the first round. If you can get him, go ahead and take him. But if there's somebody else you like better, Raul Mondesi. Definitely a solid pick to go that route. This is his rookie card I'm showcasing here. But 50 steel power, or steel power, yeah, it's kind of counterintuitive. He can easily steal 50 bases. I don't know if he's going to end up hitting 270 again. But even if he's above 250 and steals 50 bases, he's giving you a better offensive output than Billy Hamilton would. And Billy Hamilton will cost you a lot more. Because Billy Hamilton, people have known of his speed for years. Mondesi's going on average in the 10th round. Another guy I like almost better than Mondesi. I think he's actually a little overvalued right now. Paul DeJong, 17th round pick, going behind Ahmed Rosario, Elvis Andrus, and Andrelton Simmons. DeJong can hit for power. The guy has a power bat, and he's going to show it. Couple more Dynasty League ads. You can also consider getting them late. Willie Adames. I think he's going to have a good year. You know, I've got him at a 50 on the 80 scale in hitting. I think he's going to be between 10 and 15 home run power, 15 to 20 steals. That's going to be in his prime. Don't know if he'll do it this year. Late round ad, but definitely a deep sleeper. Someone you need to draft if he's available in Dynasty Leagues. Brendan Rodgers, same way. I think Rodgers is going to get called up in May. So you can draft him late or just keep an eye on him. See what's happening out in the Pacific Coast League. And if he ends up performing really well, go ahead and grab him. Now on to outfielders. We got Nomar Mazara, Harrison Bader. I really like both of them. Mazara is going on average in the 13th round. Bader in the 17th. Bader is being drafted behind Billy Hamilton. I have no clue why. Bader can steal bases. He can hit for power. He can hit for average. He's going to do a little bit of everything. Definitely someone I want on my team because I want somebody who can contribute in all 5 categories. Mazara is a similar situation. I don't know how well he's going to do as far as batting average. Last year he batted .258 with 20 home runs. What people don't realize, since he's in his 4th season, he's only going to be 24 years old next year. So there's still a lot of growth for him. He's actually adjusted his hitting plan in spring training to try and hit for a little more power. I'm buying into it. If I can get him, I'll definitely use it. Now a couple deep guys to consider going after. And these are guys that I got specifically for this because I wanted to showcase these cards as well. Just to show off a little. Victor Robles. Robles is he's going to go fairly high because he steals bases. He's going to have a starting position in the Nationals outfield unless they bring back Harper. So keep an eye on Robles. Go for him if he's available. I wouldn't take him in the first 10 rounds. If he's available between 10 and 15, pounce at it. Eloy Jimenez, similar situation. If Jimenez is available in the 10 to 15 range, I'd consider it. I'd love to get him after the 15th round, but Jimenez is going to hit for some power. So let me go ahead and pull these up. Which that Eloy autograph just looks terrible. Looks like a kindergartner kind of scribbled on it. But let's break down some of the numbers for these guys. So we got Victor Robles has stolen as much as 37 bases in a season. That was when he was 19 years old. Then he stole 27. Then he stole 24. And then he did get injured. But the speed's still there. I don't see him hitting for a whole lot of home runs. He will score a lot of runs in that Nationals lineup. Just depends on where he bats. Because if he gets called up, I still think Eaton's going to bat 2 behind Trey Turner. Not sure where that leaves Robles. Could be 6 or 7. And I don't know how often he's going to run from that position. But still somebody to go after. Eloy Jimenez is getting drafted pretty late because he's lost in the shuffle because of how big of a prospect Vlad Jr. is. Eloy last year alone hit 22 homers, 75 RBI, batted .337, struck out just 69 times in 416 at-bats. He's not going to steal bases. He honestly, when you see him play in person, which I have in AAA, he looks like the 8th grader on the 10 and under baseball team. Like he is just a massive person. Last year in AAA, Played 55 games. He hit 12 homers and batted 355. Triple A pitching is not, they're not slouches. And he batted 355 against that. The 12 home runs, you just, you don't see that in that short of a span. The International League is a pitcher's league. Big ballparks, low humidity in a lot of those places, and he's making the ball carry. He's sending it out. He has easy 30 home run power in the big leagues. I'm actually going to try and get him in my season long leagues. I've been trying to trade for both of these guys in Dynasty for a while, and just nobody's bidding. So, what I'm going to do, I'm just going to focus the camera in on those two cards, and then I'll give a chance for some people to pop in if they want to, and we'll do a little Q&A. Also, if there's any cards that anybody's interested in that you've seen, I know I've showcased some inserts, a lot of rookie cards. Email me at codyscardcloset@gmail.com, and I'd be happy to try and, I'd be happy to work with you. Sell any of those, trade. I collect the national stuff, so I'd be happy to help with that. I do appreciate you watching the specific review of the different positions. And as we go, if you have more questions, if you want to see what I was talking about for a specific position group, feel free to watch the replay. But does anybody have any fantasy baseball questions? Or have a league draft coming up? Let me know what type of league you're playing in, and I'd be happy to help out as far as that goes. So I've got my Dynasty League draft coming up actually the night before opening day. So we're prepping for that. I'll give just a couple more minutes in case anybody pops in and has any questions. But if not, we'll call it an evening. And then leave in the comments too if you liked the Monday Musings being about fantasy baseball, if there's something else you'd like to see. I haven't really done fantasy before, or as far as these type of videos. One thing I just saw pop up too, Mike Moustakas signed back with the Brewers. It's looking like he's going to try and play second base. So that's something to keep an eye on too. If he's going to play second, I like him for that. Not defensively, but if he can gain position eligibility there, I think that'd be a good ad as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. But if any questions pop up as you watch the video back, if you have positions or questions about specific position groups, you can ask questions about pitchers. If there's anything that intrigues you there, feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll make sure to respond. I appreciate you tuning in. Thanks so much for being with us. Have